These three stocks are massively undervalued right now, and in this video I'll show you why mid-May 2025 is the best time to grab them. Welcome to episode 2 of the Value Verdict, the series where we hunt through the top 30 companies in the S&P 500 to find the biggest drops, the steepest discounts, and the best opportunities for investors. If you caught episode 1 and know the drill, you can skip ahead to the timestamp on the screen, but if you're new around here, here's how it works. For each company, I've run 2 valuation models, a discounted cash flow analysis, also known as a DCF, which is a popular method of estimating the current value of a company based on projected future cash flows, and also a relative valuation analysis, which is another way to value a company by comparing it to other businesses based on certain metrics. And I've combined both to calculate an intrinsic value, the true value of each stock. We will compare that to the current market price and give each company a grade from A star to F, so you can quickly see which stocks might be a bargain and which ones to avoid. Let's get started. Kicking things off with Apple, I've drawn some lines on the chart to mark the relative, intrinsic, and DCF values. Some investors prefer to use the DCF value over the relative value, and others like to do the opposite. So I put the values for all three on the chart, and you can use the one that suits you the best. If you're not sure which one to use or want a combination of both the DCF and the relative value, then the intrinsic value could be the way to go, as it is an average of the other two, and the intrinsic value is also the one I'm going to be using for most of this video and to do the grading. Looking at Apple's current price compared to its intrinsic value, it looks like Apple is around 28% overvalued at the moment, which gives Apple a grade D. It was E last week, so the price has come down a bit, and it's one that you might want to keep an eye on in the upcoming week, as there is a chance we could be seeing the price closer to this relative value. Next, we have Microsoft. The current price is 43% above the intrinsic value, making this a grade E. Moving on to the next stock, which is Nvidia, the price for which is slightly below the relative value, but above the intrinsic value by around 19%, making this a grade D. The price for Nvidia was below the intrinsic value less than a month ago, so this is another stock that we would want to keep an eye on in the upcoming weeks, as we could see the price coming back down to around the intrinsic value. Next, we have Amazon, the price for which is higher than last week, currently around 32% overvalued, which means Amazon has gone from a grade D last week to a grade E this week. Moving on to Meta Platforms, the price is currently 25% above the intrinsic value, making this a grade D stock. Next up, we have Berkshire Hathaway. We saw a slight drop on Monday after Warren Buffett announced he's going to be stepping down, but comparing it to the intrinsic value, it is still around 30% overvalued, making this a grade E stock, but it's almost at a grade D. Next, we have Alphabet, the price for which has come down below the intrinsic value, which is what we like to see. It is currently around 3% undervalued, which gives Alphabet a grade C, improving from the grade D it got in the last episode. Next, we have Broadcom. The price is currently around 56% overvalued, making this the first grade F stock of the day. Next, we have Tesla. You might be wondering why we have this Wall Street forecast here instead of the usual values, and the reason for this is because the valuation models we're using aren't typically great for growth stocks like Tesla. So for these kind of stocks like Tesla and Palantir, we're going to be using forecasts from Wall Street, which tend to be more sensible. And based on the Wall Street forecast, the price of Tesla is slightly below, meaning Tesla hangs on to its grade C. Moving on to JP Morgan Chase, the price for which is significantly below the DCF value and also below the intrinsic value, based on which it's currently undervalued by around 5%, making JP Morgan Chase a grade C. Next we have Eli Lilly, which was massively overvalued last week, but it looks like the price has come down slightly. However, it is still significantly above the intrinsic value by around 88%, making this another grade F stock. The next stock we have is Visa. Similar to Eli Lilly, the price of Visa is also massively overvalued at the moment by around 67%, making this another grade F stock. Moving on to Netflix, where we see a similar story. However, it looks like the price has been coming down slightly over the past few days, but it is still overvalued by around 134%, making Netflix a grade F as well. Next up we have ExxonMobil, the price for which looks much better than the last few we have seen. It's a lot lower than the DCF value we have for it, and also below the intrinsic value by around 15%, making this a grade B stock. Moving on to MasterCard, the price for which looks similar to what we saw with Visa. It's currently overvalued by around 61%, making this a grade F. The next stock we have is Costco. The price is currently around 105% above the intrinsic value, making this another grade F stock. Next we have Walmart, and similar to Costco, it is also overpriced by around 64%, making this a grade F. Moving on to Procter & Gamble, it looks like the price has come down a little bit this week, but it is still very much above the intrinsic value by around 37%, making this a grade E. Next, we're looking at Johnson & Johnson. The price is currently below the relative and intrinsic value, getting close to the DCF value. Based on the intrinsic value, is currently undervalued by around 6%, giving this a grade C. Moving on to United Health, the price is currently below all three of our levels. It is below the intrinsic value by around 47%, making this our first A-star stock of the video. United Health is available at an incredible discount at the moment, so definitely one you might want to consider. The next stock we have is Home Depot. The price is currently overvalued by around 38%, making this a grade E. Moving on to AbbVie, where we have seen the price drop slightly since last week. However, it's still above all three of our levels and is still overvalued by around 16%, making this a grade D stock. The next stock we're looking at is Coca-Cola. It is currently overvalued by around 21%, making Coca-Cola a grade D. Next we have Bank of America, which was on our watch list last week, and it looks like it is making a good recovery, but the price is currently below all three of our levels. We are estimating it to be undervalued by around 28%, which means it receives a grade A, and it's another stock that you might want to consider buying in the upcoming week. Next we have Philip Morris. It's currently around 28% above our intrinsic value, which means it receives a grade D. The next stock we're looking at is Salesforce. It is currently below the relative value and the intrinsic value, and we are estimating it to be undervalued by around 6%, making this a grade C. Next we have Palantir Technologies, which is another growth stock, so we're using the Wall Street forecast. It looks like we did see the price drop early last week, but it has picked back up again. It's currently overvalued by around 27%, making this a grade D. It was a grade E last week, so it has improved slightly. Moving on to Wells Fargo, the price is currently below all three levels, just about. It is undervalued by around 24%, making Wells Fargo a grade A stock. So this is another stock you might want to consider adding to your buy list. The 29th company on the list is Oracle. It's currently undervalued by around 4%, making this a grade C stock. And finally, we have Cisco Systems. The price is currently overvalued by around 6%, which means Cisco Systems gets a grade D. So this is where the top 30 companies in the S&P 500 are at this point in time. If you'd like to stay up to date with this series, then consider subscribing to the channel. I'll be making update videos every week, so we can always catch the most wonderful companies in the S&P 500 at a discount when the opportunity arises. This is value investing and it's my second favorite strategy. My first favorite strategy being tracking trades made by US politicians. And it's my first favorite because I find investing alongside key US politicians delivers higher returns faster than every other strategy in the stock market. So it's the strategy I use most of the time. If you are curious about how I can invest alongside key US politicians and how you can do the same, I've put together this free video on my website and it explains the strategy I use to find the most profitable trades, and I also go through the returns of this strategy over the past 3 years. The link to this video is in the description below. It's completely free and you don't have to enter your email or anything like that, so feel free to check it out if you're interested. That brings us to the end of the video. If you found this video helpful, consider dropping a like on the video as that helps out the channel a lot. Also remember to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with the series. And if you want to learn how to profit like a politician, the link to this free video is in the description below, so feel free to check that out if you are interested. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching and I will see you in the next one.